So I'm sitting in Bangor, or Bangor, like I'm in Pennsylvania, not Maine. Um, just kind of, had some sushi and, like fun day with, random people that I've met, like in a small town. And, I kind of want to go over, like how the fuck I got here. So, like, I caught a Greyhound out of Bangor to the Port Authority. Giant pain in the ass that is, like layovers in fucking South Station and shit. Like I got a dog with me, and so that's always a pain in the ass. And like Midtown, pain in the ass. South Station, always a pain in the ass. But they're pretty integral to my life of traveling. Like I find myself there, meaning those places at least a couple times a year, each one, if not more. And I hate them. And so I then got on Jersey Transit to go to Tom's River, which was fucking like 4 bus changes. Got a cab to somebody's house, and supposed to be helping them with work, and then they had no materials and kept fucking not buying the materials and then chastising me for lack of materials. So I was like, yeah, well, I'm out. And so like the shit snowballed to the point where I was like, yeah, I'm done. And I fucking left at midnight and hitchhiked to Philadelphia, through Atlantic City, like pain in the ass. So hitchhiking out, 1 o'clock in the morning to Atlantic City, not the funnest hitch ever, like weird ass fucking drunk people at night, super fun. And then hitching into Philly, I was at Philly by sunrise, which isn't too terrible. I mean, like mileage wise, bad. We're talking 75, 80 miles. Could have hitched that in a couple of hours, like on some roads, but not major highway fucking hitching. Pain in the ass. So I was in Philly, and I got a random phone call, from a friend of mine who lives by, pretty close to Kirkridge Shelter in Pennsylvania. And I was like, well, fuck it. I'm gonna go for a ride. So I hopped on a Greyhound for fucking $13 to Allentown, where I saw people shooting up in office chairs, sitting outside of the bus station, like, because Allentown's a shithole. I mean, it's not Reading, but it's pretty bad, like, they're nice neighborhoods, but... And she scooped me up and brought me to her kid's like concert thing at a like a college, maybe a half hour away. It's just random convenience. And so I'm sitting in Bangor, and I'm torn because I got to go to an airport and I got to catch a flight. And I have about $400 in American credits right now for a flight that I'm not gonna take. So I'm torn on where the fuck I'm going next. But the end all be all is I got 3 airports that are close-ish. One's in Allentown, it's the Lehigh Airport, and then the other one is Philly, and then the third one is Harrisburg. Otherwise, I have to go to New York to like LaGuardia or something, and probably not going to do that from here. I can get to New York for like $15, so it's not a big deal. Just giant pain in the ass. To tentatively, I was gonna hike the Pinhoti again for the third time, and I like the Pinhoti, but it's got a lot of shitty road walks, but it ain't bad. Like the actual trail is nice, so like you can get past the road, and so like I'm sitting here right now, torn on what the fuck I'm doing, and I have about 2 weeks till I have to get a new debit card mailed, and so I might go camp on the AT for a bit. And I could get the debit card mailed to fucking like Duncannon or something, and hike 150 miles, which is not that bad. It's just shitty terrain, in a point. Probably one of my favorite states on the AT. Like I prefer Pennsylvania to everything, which is rare because everybody always says, "Oh, PA rocks. Oh, PA rocks. PA rocks suck." It's a fact. They suck ass. They suck ass hard. I blow a pair of shoes in this state every year at some point, and I got no ill wills because like everywhere I go in Pennsylvania, I've got like family trail angels. Like when I say family, it's not blood, but it's family. Like the people you want to see. Like I'm sitting on a porch in fucking Bangor right now, and it's fucking incredible, like that I'm here, and I know people in town. Like it's one of the best places a dirtbag can be. I mean, shit, I just went out for sushi with my friend Joe, who's, he was born and raised like within 20 miles of this spot, and I'm at my, some of my hiking friends, like apartment, which is upstairs. Lighters suck. Welcome to fucking dirtbag life. It's not a rollie though, so classy town cigarettes. Holy shit. But that being said, like it's great being here. Like, Bono's Pizza, the pub, the brewery, like it's a nice town. Pan Argyle's like a couple miles away. It's where the liquor store and like the Weiss is, and it's walkable, but prefer not to, like if I don't have to. There's a bus kind of, but it's basically fucking going to Easton, so like working on like a pretty random ass schedule. But yeah, we just went like, I don't know, probably like a 40-minute drive to like go rage and have sushi, which is awesome. And then like I got a stereotypical New York fag, like not a bad thing. The guy's like totally like, like when I used to live in the city, like he'd be like somebody I'd count as like one of my friends. Met him for the first time today, like awesome day. Like we're just sitting there doing trashy ass shit in a fucking sushi restaurant, like all you can eat sushi, so like $20 and fucking crushing a bunch of fucking shitty drinks. Luckily I didn't have to pay. And last night I was sitting in the pub here and fucking two guys picked up my whole tab, and I had the money, so I mean like I wasn't like out of my shit, but I definitely had about $100 bar tab. Two guys picked it up because that's how Pennsylvania is. Everybody loves people here. It's one of the best states in the fucking country because it's pretty friendly. Like even shitholes like Philly or like Allentown, like where you might get stabbed or something, like depending on neighborhood, Easton, Bethlehem or something. But like my experience in Pennsylvania for my entire life has always been nothing but like amazing, because the people here, they truly like are human beings. Like it's not a rich state. Everybody treats everybody like they matter, and that's pretty awesome. So, it's kind of cool. I'm sitting in Pennsylvania, and I'm on the Jersey border dealing with the whole fucking crazy shit that I was like, forced to hitch out of at like midnight. But, random fate, wind up back in a small town that I actually like being in. It's 5 miles from the AT. It's like one of the best places on earth. Like it's, a stone's throw. Day in the life of a dirtbag. Like still pretty early, so probably going to the bar. Like doing something dumb. Definitely drinking some Old Crow right now because I'm poor. Because, well, evidence being, yeah, that's the first bottle. Well, second bottle. This is the first bottle. That one was cracked last night about, I don't know, 2 in the morning. Yeah, we're getting liquored up on the porch, enjoying the fucking beautiful scenery, watching the leaf change, and just having a rager in fucking Pennsylvania. It's fucking awesome. Love this state. Don't let the rocks fucking scare you, because they're really not that bad. They do suck. You will twist your ankles. You will fall down probably a couple of times, maybe more. No, in my case, 175 times, because I'm a fucking jackass. And I'm usually pretty fucking lit, like in this state, because I'm going from like, town stop to town stop, where I have friends and I stay in their houses. But anywhere from like Dunk Cannon to fucking Water Gap is some of the best AT. It's really like, it's not the most scenic. It's not the prettiest. It's not the easiest. It's also not the hardest. Definitely like a little blender on your feet. Christ, my feet feel like shit every time I'm here, but love being here. Love my friends. Love the family that fucking treats me like fucking gold. And I'd do anything for all of them. Anytime. Like, somebody wants me to take a bullet, I'll take a bullet for all my friends in PA. Because PA has done nothing but treat me like gold. It's not the... it's the state that everybody fucking dogs on, and it's kind of sad. Like, something gets a bum rap, and it's like a bunch of fucking pussies, crying about rocks, especially Nobos. Like, Nobos have no fucking understanding of rocks until they hit Palmerton. Fucking like climbing out of Palmerton, like going up Blue Mountain. And they're like, whoa, this is like fucking mountain climbing. Like, this is serious rock climbing right here. And I'm like, no, that's a little scramble. That'd be a random feature that's not named in the woods. Stupid fucking jackasses fucking go up there and they're like mule fucking food and water and shit. A couple miles after you get over the fucking crest of the hill. bang a left, like through the woods, and you're at the fucking ski resort. Like, look for the fucking, the lifts, and fucking go down there and get, like water and fucking burgers and beer, like at elevation without losing more than 100 feet, like it's not that bad. Like, driest section of the trail generally. And, yeah, no, like, you get cold ass water, cold ass beer, cold fucking, like, everything is fucking great. And then you get a fucking delicious fucking burger, just for fucking hiking up a mile of fucking rock scrambles in PA. A couple rattlesnakes, but, like, that's the thing. Palmerton's a good town. There's a liquor store, smoke shop. It's nature of life. Like, dirtbags don't need much. We need to keep on keeping on, and like, you learn where everything is. End all be all is, Duncannon to like Water Gap is probably, like, I have places on the trail I love. Like, scenery wise, people wise. Duncannon to Water Gap is my favorite section of the trail, like, people-wise. And I'm always happy to be in this area. Every single time. Like, literally right up until Church of the Mountain. Like, I like the people who run the church. Like, everything about PA is awesome from fucking Duncannon on. I mean, Mary's like my mom. It's literally like one of the most beautiful things. Like, I've known her for fucking decades, and she fucking made her way, like, as a trail angel while homeless. Like, that's the level of people in Pennsylvania. When you're homeless and still trying to help others, like, that's how awesome PA actually is. Like, people treat people better than they treat themselves, and like, that's the lifestyle that I strive to. Like, I'm not perfect, but I appreciate it. Sitting on my friend Joe's porch right now, like, in fucking Bangor, and I'm happy as shit to be here. The only way I found my way here is the trail, and made lifelong friends. Well, number one, I have trail friends who live upstairs, and then the neighbors downstairs. Like, the whole family, mother, father, the kids that are like, my age, like, all of them are fucking great, like, and it's like, it's life experience that your average thru hiker would never have. Like, this is shit that actually matters, is fucking, like, finding people that are, like, worth meeting everywhere. Like, another example of that is in Green Valley, fucking in California. Like, Green Valley is a fucking beautiful little area. There's 2 convenience stores, so, like, good luck resupplying well. But, like, Casa de Luna was a thing. Like, it's probably done now. Terry and her husband were like, peacing out. But I know a guy named Mike in town who raised Brittany's, and I'll crush a 30-pack sitting on his porch for a day, just shooting the shit, because like, go to small towns everywhere, because that's where trails go. You meet people in small towns, embrace it. Like, embrace that, because like, my community, or my home, is the trail. My community is all of these communities, and I love every single place that I go. It's the reason why I continue doing it. Otherwise I wouldn't bother. I'd change it up. Like, sort of rambling ass, drunk ass fucking video, but it's the reality. Like, dirtbags, we travel, We see people we know. We go to places we love. And I love fucking going to these small towns everywhere. And this is just one of them. This is one that's not even listed in the guidebook. Wind Gap is listed. It's not that far away. I'm probably 6 miles past here on the road, but, and Wind Gap's, high claim to fame is, fuck John Stempa and his water situation and stabbing fucking bottles, in a water cache, to get people to go to his house. But, Wind Gap is like the water source for kind of the area until you hit this area exactly. I'm 5 miles right now as the crow flies from Kirkridge Shelter, where there's a spigot that runs until, extremely late fall. It's still running right now. I've been out there like twice. Super nice campsite. Wonderful people, like at the Kirkridge retreat there. It's it's a religious thing, but more power to them. I'm not religious, but I can respect it. It's like when I go to Troutdale, I go to Ken Riggins' church. If I'm in town on a Sunday, I go to Ken Riggins' service because, number one, I appreciate the fact that they have a hostel there. Number two, I appreciate the fact that they allow people like me to be there. Number three, open it off season. Oh well, the heat might not work, but you can stay in there if you want to, to avoid a storm. And they take me in every time. It's one of the weird things. We got great people up and down this trail, that take us on. And they fucking will bend over backwards. I mean, Christ. I don't have the resources even when I'm off trail, which is rare. I spent $5,000 this year on Trail Magic. Trying to help those fucking 2020 Nobos and Sobos, doing their thing up in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. I went through the Whites and I hiked in Western Maine and shit. I probably spent $500 the last time I was at Shaw's, which was I don't know, 3 weeks ago, give or take. Just doing some trail magic, because Lord knows I've received my share, and I don't have money to throw away, but I live on ramen and fucking peanut butter, so the amount of money that I require to exist is pretty small. And I honestly got to deliver the best trail magic that I'd ever delivered this year, sitting at Shaw's in fucking Monson. I'm talking to a guy. I'm gonna keep his situation private. But a couple of years ago, I was southbounding, and I was hiking through the Virginia quote Triple Crown, meaning not a Triple Crown at all. It's fucking about, I don't know, 20 odd miles of hiking, piece of cake. None of it's hard. But I was sitting on McAfee Knob, and people were sitting there like assholes fucking bogarting the viewpoint, and I'll get the cliche photo, which is, it's not something that, when you look at that photo, it looks like everybody's gonna fall off into nothing, but it's really not that far. You can jump off fucking McAfee Knob and land in a campsite. I mean, granted, it's full of diapers and fucking garbage and whatnot, but I'm sitting there, and I kind of wanted the cliche photo, and I was there with a friend of mine, and people are just hogging it. And I was kind of annoyed. And, like finally I get my stupid cliche photo, like everybody does on the AT every single time. I've got a bunch of them. Like I think that was my fourth AT. And I'm counting the money in my wallet because I'm poor and I'd been traveling for, well, years at that point. Probably 2 years without income, and like dirtbag style. And I'm sitting there and I had $16 in my wallet, and some mixed change that like most people don't carry. Christ, I pick up change. I picked up enough change in Pennsylvania alone the last time I hiked north, which was a year ago, to buy 2 handles in Duncannon just from random change that people abandoned in shelters. It's heavy, man. Fuck it, nobody cares. But so I was sitting there and I'm counting it. And I got $16, and like I'm not grifting, doing the yogi thing, and a family comes up to me and they're like, Are you hiking the whole trail? And I'm like, yeah, this is the second time this year. And they're like, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from Maine, but like at this point I just live on the trail. And they're like, we're from New Hampshire. And I'm like, well, I have a grid in New Hampshire. And they're like, really? And they look me up and like, yeah, I'm on the grid list. And so, like not many people have a grid. Like there are several, but it's definitely one of the goals that I tried to achieve. And I was trying to do it in a year, and it ended up failing because of the winter, and I just didn't have the money to like keep trying. And I was like homeless in New Hampshire in the winter, and I got 479 out of the list, including all summits every single month of the same winter. But I just exhausted my funds. But that being said, so like they're like, no shit, like, and they're talking about New Hampshire and all this stuff, and they're like, so what are you doing today? And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hike down into Catawba, and like I may or may not get fried chicken, but I'm kind of keeping my money kind of tight because like I have no idea how far I have to go with it, and well, they're like, get dinner on us. And they handed me a crisp, brand new $100 bill. Literally a brand new, crisp $100 bill, and said, get dinner on us. I mean, fucking Home Place, which, is going through its shit right now. Like, they may or may not reopen. They're, it's a well-loved, like, institution in that area. Like locally, in the hiker community, like regardless, like it's definitely loved. And I'm sitting there and I'm just floored. Like somebody handed me $100 bill after talking to me, about hiking in New Hampshire for a couple of minutes. And so like, you're damn right, I went and got some fried chicken. I ate fucking like 4 chickens that night. 4 whole chickens, probably. I think I ate about 30 pieces of chicken. So, like a whole fried chicken is about 32. Like 32 if you cut it properly. It's 8 pieces of chicken. So, I probably ate four chickens, in one sitting. And I was like, awestruck by the generosity of strangers yet again. And so... to go back to where I was going with that is, so I was sitting in Monson and I'm sitting at Shaw's, at Poet and Hippie Chick's place, which is one of my favorite places on the AT. And I had been over to Lakeshore and seen Rebecca, and like done that thing. But like Shaw's is a place I've gone, through, like couple of regimes, and I was sitting there quite proud of the fact that like I was sitting at Shaw's, like I rode past, I was riding out past like Mountain View, the jail with the best view in the country. Literally, it stares at Katahdin. And, it was a gorgeous day, nice fall day. And so I'm sitting by a fire out back, by the gear shop. And I'm talking to a hiker. And he's out of money. He's 114 or so, 115 miles from finishing the trail. He's out of money. And, he's a multiple time through hiker. He's poor. And he had met a bunch of Sobos and a couple of friends flipping and wanted to, like, do some trail magic. And you can hike from Monson to fucking Katahdin with, like, I don't know, $15, $20 worth of supplies. That's not a problem. And he'd been hiking with a group, and so I paid for a bucket drop for all of them. Like they bought their own food. Like I'm not going to say I bought everything because that's not true. I paid for a bucket drop so they could go to Gulf Haggis. Because Gulf Haggis is definitely a spot that's one of the most amazing in Maine. Like on trail but off trail. Like you gotta like dedicate a day. Like to go enjoy the loop. And so that was $80, like nothing major there, like it's a lot of money in my world, but not in the scheme of things, and plenty of people have stepped up way better than that for me over the years. So I paid for that, and I bought them all beer, and this is the same day that I was in Vermont, driving people to like Ramonto's from the fucking trailhead to like get them pizza and beer, like it's kind of a weird thing, to go from like dirtbag to trail angel for a hot minute, like because I don't do the trail angel thing. I enjoy the feeling because Christ, I was enamored and glowing, like from doing trail magic. I did trail magic from fucking goddamn Roanoke all the way to fucking Maine. I literally drove up the AT that week, and every single day, like, because I fucking dragged it the fuck out. Like I was under, sort of a time guideline, and I totally fucking shirked it. But I did trail magic all the way from fucking essentially Four Pines to, through like Thomas Knob, everything, like literally the whole area, all the way to Maine and into Western Maine up to Rangeley in one trip. Like going through Vermont, New Hampshire, like spent about a day, like in each area, like a drive that should have taken like, I don't know, 14 or 15 hours took like fucking 6 days, just doing jackass shit. But so I'm sitting by the fire in Monson with this kid, and he's like out of money, and he, he's worried about his friends, and he doesn't have the money to like even get a shuttle from fucking Baxter. And I'm like, I'm going to pay this forward. So I got that trail magic in fucking Catawba, sitting on McAfee Knob, $100 bill, clean, crisp, new. And I reached in my pocket and I'm like, I told him the story about how, how I came into that $100. It's $100. And I said, I got this because, somebody wanted to give me something. And ultimately, like, they weren't giving me something, they were just paying it forward. And I'm going to pay this forward again. So this is what got me to Key West from Maine that year, southbound. Like, I made it from about mile 700 on the AT to Key West on the $100. And I pulled out a crisp $100 bill. I had two of them in my wallet and, some mixed singles and shit. And I handed him a $100 bill to continue to do good, finish the trail, and pay it forward. And I hold hope that, like, he does. I have faith, because he wasn't begging as I wasn't begging, like, when I got it, but he was definitely struggling. And I'm like, this will see you to, like, Bangor, to, like, get somewhere. And if you have it in you past that, make differences in other people's lives. And at some point, pass on a $100 bill to somebody that needs it. Like, on trail. This was his second AT, and it was probably his third through hike of long distance trails. So, like, I had a little bit more faith than, like, a first timer. So I can definitely appreciate, being poor and, following your dreams. And I've had so much given to me. Like, I've always been, one on the receiving end. And, like, I'll do trail work or, like, work for stay, that kind of shit. But it's rare that I actually, like, get to really pay it forward, like, dial it down to money. And felt pretty good. It felt pretty right. I'm like, I got this. This is the gift that I got. I'm going to give you the gift that I got. Like, it took me two years, or was it 3? I don't know, but 3 years to, like, basically, like, put it back into circulation. But I put it back into circulation. There's $100, like, that I got for nothing, literally, other than the fact that I was a hiker that wanted some fried chicken. And it saved a hike. That $100 saved a hike. And it allowed me to complete essentially the ECT, but not the entire ECT. Katahdin to, like, Key West. Which I hiked for about $2,000. The last AT hike I hiked for $700, including, like, like, what I was given. I was wearing hiker box shoes. I look pretty poor. And like, he cried. Like, he cried, I cried. Like, it was a beautiful moment. And I'm so proud that, like, like, that I could do that. Like, I'm not proud of myself, like, in general. Like, I'm an opportunist dirtbag. Like, I just go where I go and do what I do. But the fact that I was able to take something that I was given and immediately turn it into a hike-saving chunk of change right at the end, and then, essentially allow it to be paid forward again. I was so proud of myself for, like, 2 weeks. I was enamored, like, like I was on cloud nine. Best feeling on earth. Like that's how trail angels must feel every single day, because man, without trail angels, this trail would suck. Pretty much every trail would suck. Trail angels make this work. Like there were times where it was hiked without them, but like since trail angels kind of, or since hiking became more popular and trail angels kind of became a thing, mostly in my lifetime, they change lives, and it's through selfless sacrifice to like help others, going through a struggle in their life. And no idea that this was going to go this way. But yeah, that's pretty much the last, couple of weeks. And now, so I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, do I hike to Harrisburg, or do I, catch a random bus to Allentown, or do I fucking catch a bus to Allentown and then hitchhike to Philly? Like, still gotta get south, because honestly, it's fucking gonna get cold. Like the Northeast is cold already. It sucks. It's the reality of life. Cold and wet in the mountains doesn't really bother me that much in the South. Probably kill a lot of people. Like, there's been deaths because of it, but, like, what some people call hell, I call home. It's the reality of traveling. Like, you have to be comfortable being incredibly uncomfortable. You have to embrace the suck, as the figure of speech goes. It's a fucking gorgeous fucking existence, superficially, but, at its very core, it's very hard. Would I trade it for, like, 9 to 5s regularly? Fuck no. Trails are my home. Christ, I've spent, like, the last year running people off the trail, like, that shouldn't be here, like disrespecting people in town, like crapping on the fucking service staff at a fucking restaurant, like that kind of shit. That shit don't fly. Like, treat people like human beings everywhere you go. Respect the fact that, like, you're a guest. We all have the privilege to be out here. That privilege could be revoked at any time because of fucking jackass behavior. I mean, I watched fucking assholes fucking treating a server like shit in fucking Idlewild, California last year when I was like no-bowing the PCT. And I criticized the shit out of them and basically drove them out of town. And they ended up hitchhiking past San Jacinto. Because, the mountain was too hard, the weather was bad. But, like, just because you're stuck somewhere and getting drunk, don't shit on everybody. Like, we're all human beings. Everybody's a human being. Christ, I fucking just pieced out of the 2021 Facebook group for the AT because, it's getting, like, super self-righteous, like, crazy feminist nonsense, like, oh, I'm black and I'm gonna do whatever. And, like, I'm sorry, but, real hikers don't see color because, like, and the argument was, well, if you don't see color, you don't see our struggles. And I'm like, I don't need to see your struggles. Our struggles are putting one foot in front of the other every day and continuing to do so for fucking 2,000 to 3,000 miles every single season. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, what race you are, what creed, what denomination, orientation, identity, like none of that matters. Like we're all in the same struggle. So like literally getting chastised for like having a problem with the fact that like somebody's segregating themselves. No, there's no segregation. Like we're all in this together, and we're all going forward. Like there's a great sort of moment in the 1984 Democratic National Convention speech by Mario Cuomo that kind of says like what Democrats will do, and that everybody's going to get there. Definitely recommend seeing that speech as like a human being, because Mario Cuomo is one of the best speakers of all time, and that particular speech is probably the greatest political speech of all time. I mean, he sat there and blasted Reagan to his face, and Reagan was like applauding him. Like eloquence, like tactful delivery, like approaching issues, like everything about it was, like, things that matter. But anyway, I'm not going to harp down the political thing, because that's, everybody has their beliefs, like I'm not going to like shit on that, but that's definitely a speech to watch. It's like John McCain, like defending Obama because people were calling him an Arab, and he's like, no, he can be trusted. He's a good American, and you don't have to be afraid if he were your president. This is somebody running against somebody, but like, you don't have to be afraid. The reason I'm running is because we disagree on several key issues, and that's what this election is about. It's not about race. It's not about anything else. That's what a actual candidate is. Like actual human beings being like, no, we disagree. Like, fuck you and your racist shit. Christ, I'm like 45 minutes into this fucking random rant right now. I don't think I'm gonna edit it. I might just post it on Facebook though. It'll be funny. The wonders of being old and not giving a fuck. I want to see everyone on the trail. Every color, every creed, every religion, every race, like every single aspect of it, because ultimately, like, it enriches my experience, like being exposed to everyone. And I've traveled internationally, a number of times. I've been all over the world, but ultimately, like, I these days stick close to home, and if it wasn't for everyone else, I'd be less. Yeah, if it wasn't for everyone else, I'd be a lesser human being. Like, my exposure to people from all over the U.S., multiple countries, like, ultimately, like, if I don't spend a day learning something, I didn't have a successful day. And, I'm stupid. I may be book smart, may have a relatively high IQ, may even have some like world smarts, but ultimately, like, I have my narrow mind view, and if it wasn't for everyone else, like, I'd never I'd never learn anything. And so, Christ, one of the most glorious things is, like the broad spectrum of people on these long distance trails and bringing their culture, introducing people to culture, it's fucking like a gorgeous thing, like hiking with people from Germany, hiking with people from fucking Japan, like literally I spent a shitload of time hiking with Europeans last year, and that was phenomenal. Like, I've been to Europe, I've been all over Europe, but like there's a difference when you're a tourist and they're a tourist, and then like you're accepting and they're in your land, like meaning that I'm a US citizen and they're coming here to enjoy. Like I go there to enjoy. So like you get a different perspective, and Christ, like it's one of the best experiences in the world. Like you get people of all walks of life, young, old, foreign, not foreign, well, crazy fucking weirdos like myself, like that's definitely part of it. Like, people that make you uncomfortable, people that make you comfortable, like it's all walks of life. And, like none of it works for anybody unless you're accepting. So you kind of get to learn something once in a while, which, ultimately, like that's all we have, because like we all die, we all leave nothing. Like, oh, there might be money, nothing goes with us, but the time we have, like is time to learn, explore, meet, greet, and just live the best life we can. And I feel that life is enriched by meeting everyone. Like shit, like I'm super enamored with the fact that like I hiked with people generally all from out of country last year. Hiked like 4,000 miles last year with people that English was like I think a third language. Not even a second, like a third. And I speak barely passable, like shitty Spanish. Like I'm not that smart in that sense. Like, I used to speak French, and I could speak conversational Spanish, but like things lapse and I suck because I'm not that smart. Like as much as I try to be. Good memory, terrible smarts. I can remember a random spring in the woods, like a quarter mile from the trail in whatever location. I mean, like, I can throw one out, like, about a mile from Herd Brook Shelter, there's a spring on the left going northbound. Comes out underneath a rock. It's not listed in any guidebook. Runs all year. But I remember like stupid details like that. But if it wasn't for all the people that I meet, I'd be so much less. And I'm not saying that I'm great, but every day I like to think that like I'm gaining something, personally, personal development. And people from all walks of life bring that in. Like my favorite fucking hiking companions were in their 80s, finishing up a greater than 30-year section hike, completion of the AT. And I met them in the 100-mile wilderness, and we hiked together. Like they weren't going fast, and I'm like, I have no rush. Like we're having great conversations around campfires every night. It's one of the greatest things ever. And so like I'm not 80. I don't I don't pretend to have that life experience, but like to sit there and absorb their life experience, like, and just have those conversations, about life and, like their dedication to each other. I mean, Christ, 30 goddamn years plus of routinely section hiking. It's a pretty extreme commitment. It's more commitment than any thru hike would ever have, because, I mean, a thru hike, you're just a fucking jackass and you just fucking walk. It's not that hard. I mean, yes, it's hard, but it's not that hard. You put one foot in front of the other and you get to a fucking town and you're like, well, I'll get to another fucking town. You don't have to deal with the logistics of shuttles and, all the fucking stupid shit that people coming out for like a time, a short time. So in that particular year, I spent 10 days in the 100-mile wilderness, which is cartoonish because it usually takes me about 3.5, 4 days. 5 days if I'm like, really, fucking off, because, about half of the 100-mile wilderness is 3-mile-an-hour terrain, like super easy. The other half is not as easy, but, like, you can pretty much, crush the northern end of it. But I sat there and we went shelter to shelter and we camped through the 100-mile wilderness, and it was one of the greatest things ever because, like, ultimately people have mileage goals. Never have those. It's whatever feels right. Always carry like an extra day of food. Maybe even 2, like, sucks carrying extra, but you never know when things are going to happen that, like, is really the right choice. I'd have never had that scenario if I wasn't, like, way overstocked. And that was, one of the most beautiful things that I've ever been involved in, is just hiking with a couple of old guys, finishing up their essentially through hike. They weren't through hiking, but, years of effort to get there. And, we had campfires every night, and we just hiked shelter to shelter through the 100-mile wilderness. It was great. I summited Katahdin with them in 2016, I think. 16. Kind of lost to my my time frame at this point. I'm getting old, and like, everything bleeds in. But anyway, reflections of a dirtbag for a day. Probably gonna, like, go fuck off now, like always, and try to figure out where the fuck I'm going next. We'll go from there. Good luck, y'all. If you're seeing this and you're not a dirtbag, more power to you. Like, learn some lessons. Hike cheap. Hike well. Be a wonderful human being to everyone you meet. Treat everyone better than you want to be treated, and the world is a better place. And that's ultimately, like, how I like to keep my home. That's my advice. Treat everyone like gold. You'll get treated like gold. People in the future will be treated like gold. And this is how you wind up, being able to, like, be friends with people everywhere. I have a lot of friends. And ultimately, it's because of that mindset. Treat people better than you treat yourself. Every day. Good luck, y'all.